Okay, good morning. It's December 10th. It's 9 a.m. I will call to the order the meeting of the Saline County Board of Commissioners. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Shadwick?
Here.
Commissioner Vidrickson?
Here.
Commissioner Sparks?
Here.
Commissioner Weiss?
Here.
Commissioner Hay?
Here. Please, if you're able to stand and join me in a flag salute, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag. Thank you. Okay, at this time we will move into our citizens input portion of the meeting where citizens may speak on county government, usually limited to 3 minutes and pertaining to items that will not be discussed on today's agenda. Are there any members of the public who wish to address the commission? Just please state your name.
Ken Ritz from Saline. I'm concerned as things go along with COVID that Saline County look at, as I understand it, my understanding is limited as to how in other counties there's a health board that instructs, coordinates, whatever, with the health department. And that in Salina and Saline County, that's not the case, or it is the case that you folks have declared that you are that body, that committee. And there's a couple of reasons I think you should reconsider that. You have plenty on your plate without that. And the pandemic, I think, demonstrated that you really need to have a separate group. That'll be a full-time job for those folks. COVID-19 was horrible. The suffering and death, and the need to figure out what was really going on. And now Fauci may do hard time, and it may be deserved. Our whole understanding of not so much of the virus, but of the vaccine not being a vaccine, it merely ameliorated the intensity. If our current president doesn't demonstrate that, at least 3 vaccinations and 6 boosters, and he's been diagnosed, I would assume accurately, 3 times. What more do we need? And our coming president, who took total credit for the vaccine to begin with, is now on the other side saying it was a hoax. And this time he may be right. There's a lot of evidence along those lines. And this is something that I got involved in early on, just happenstance, I guess, with my cell phone. The latest that I've seen, this is from Smithsonian, their magazine, and it reviews, that's a homemade air purifier. And Saline County is aware through your administrator. He was my guinea pig. There's a more advanced version of this that Popular Mechanics and Popular Science magazine, both I think, had all kinds of, that's quite a publication. And so I have lots of cardboard boxes, you name a size or a weight, and I had just the ideal box that I cut 4 portholes in and took not just your standard filter, but the 3 or 4 inch thick ones. And he was my guinea pig, as they say. I brought it to his office and plugged it in. And he had it there for a while, and I kept meaning to go back to see him, and I finally did, because I was hoping it was really something that this building could use. And he said that he took it over to the health department, that was, you know, their corner of things, and that's right. And I appreciated that. So I went over to them, and he said he talked with someone, told him, you know, left it in the front room there. So I went there, and a lady came up, and she said, "Oh, you mean that box?" And I said, "Well, yeah." And she said that, yeah, they just found it in the front room. And, yeah, they checked around with everybody, and nobody knew anything about it. So they kept the floor or window fan. They kept that, but they trashed the rest of it because they couldn't figure out what it was. And I will let your chieftain here use his own words and explain what he said or did or whatever. But if that thing fell out of the sky, you would know. I mean, what else could it be? Yeah. It's a fan with filters.
Okay.
Must be an air filter. So, anyway, yeah, I just, to me, that was scary, because those folks should know more than any of us do. They're better trained. They're oriented to it. It's their responsibility. And we really missed the boat. COVID-19, very simply, there's 3 words that describe what you need to do. Don't share air.
There you go.
That's it.
Okay.
And we were sharing air left, right, and center, including here, that we could have done a lot better on with not a whole lot of trouble, and not it all costs money,
Okay.
but nothing like what we paid to do things that didn't help,
Okay.
like those
Okay,
damn
so we'll
dots.
we'll have to wrap this up. We will forward that to the health department, and you know, your ideas and everything like that, and just
Well,
but be glad to.
But I would sure like to see you folks form that, because there's such a need there. And if I left a few of these, I think, in his office, but if you'd like to see what Smithsonian
Okay. Well, we'll check with
came
Phil
up
on that
with,
then,
and other, this book came out just at the end of right, a few months before 2020.
Okay.
And you would not believe this marvelous
Okay.
piece of work.
Okay.
And there's all kinds of really good information out there, and a lot that's yet to be learned.
Okay.
So anyway,
Thank you.
I appreciate that, and anything I can do to help
Okay. Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
or not help,
Okay.
let me know.
You bet.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Norman Mount, Salina, Kansas. McPherson County just passed a resolution. There will be no wind farms, solar farms in McPherson County. Rice County is also discussing this. So we can pass a resolution here too. Listen to what the people are telling us. We don't want that battery farm.
Thanks, Norm. Okay, anybody else got anything? Okay, so at this time, we'll move into our consent agenda. The consent agenda consists of approval of tax roll adjustments, approval of accounts payable, approval of public foreign agenda, approval of payroll, approval of county commission minutes for November the 26th, approval of the 2025 courthouse security agreement, approval of disaster relief abatement for 120 East Jewel, and approval of disaster abatement for 1109 Stack. Are there any items any commissioner would like to have removed or discuss?
Move approval?
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye. Aye. That passes 5-0. So that moves us into our action items.
Replacement Glock handguns with optics with Captain Jim Hughes from the Sheriff's Office.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
I'm here this morning to talk about replacement handguns for the agency. The Saline County Sheriff's Office, we desire to update 45 of our agency-issued Glock handguns that are issued to law enforcement officers. Our current Glock 9mm handguns are approximately about 8 years old now. Our replacement Glocks we are desiring will include the Trijicon Specialized Reflex Optics, or we can call them SROs for short. Glock regulates the price of the handguns and optics, no matter who's purchasing them and or who they're purchased from, at $1,017.71. So the Glock and optic doesn't matter who they're purchased from. That is the price of the gun. The price variations do occur when vendors bid holsters and if they offer trade allowance to any weapons that the agency may have. 2 regional vendors that are approved by Glock were contacted for pricing, Keesler Police Supply out of Indiana and GT Distributors out of Texas. Each vendor provided a quote for 45 Glock Model 47 handguns with the SRO optics and holsters. Again, the price of the gun is the price of the gun, but with the trade allowance of some agency, the RFA says agency owned. I didn't word that very well. Those are guns that the agency has that were in evidence right now. So they're evidence guns that are not worth anything to us. But Keesler Supply will give a $2,456 trade allowance for our guns in evidence. So that amends the quote to $49,742.60. GT Distributors, you can see from the information in front of you, offered $52,602.95. So the price of the guns were the same. When you break the quotes down a little bit, Keesler was cheaper on the holsters, and then they offered a $2,456 trade allowance for our guns in evidence. So with all the numbers in front of you and doing the math, the Sheriff's Office does recommend to purchase the 45 Glock handguns with optics from Keesler Supply and taking their $2,456 in trade into account as well. So the $49,742.60 is the bottom line. That includes the trades that the Sheriff's Office has. The budget impact for the county would be zero. The funds for this purchase will be used from the Sheriff's Office forfeiture account, and again has no budgetary impact towards the county.
Jim, a quick question on, you said there's a trade-in allowance of $2,456. That's just on the evidence
Yes,
ones?
yes.
We're not getting any type of trade-in, or we are not even, or are we trading in the other Glocks that we've got now?
So the Glocks that we currently have that we are replacing, we are transferring those over to our corrections officers that are coming up through career advancement.
Okay.
And as the corrections officers come up through career advancement, they are issued a handgun. So in lieu of us having to purchase handguns for the influx of corrections officers we hired over the last few years, we're using the guns that we currently have, and we're issuing them to the corrections.
Okay. Do you have a ballpark figure? I mean, how many evidence guns do we have that we're trading in?
There was about a dozen, give or take 1 or 2.
Okay.
And to be honest with you, I was really surprised that they're giving us the amount that they are. Some of the guns are in pieces and parts, and some of them are rusted, and there's guns that the agency has had for a period of time.
Okay.
And we are just now getting them traded in, one, because of the opportunity, and two, when we moved facilities, we brought a lot of evidence with us that was previously housed at the police department.
Okay.
Just a quick question. I mean, and you just said this, and I hadn't even thought about this, but it's like, how can we get rid of something, trade it in, if it's evidence? I mean, don't we have to keep evidence forever?
There's a judicial process that has to be gone through, and when the cases, and I'm talking, this is a 30,000-foot view, but when the case has been resolved or whatnot through dismissal, prosecution. We get a court order. We get an order of destruction from the judge. That statutory lets us get rid of the weapons.
Thank you.
Well, I had a few questions, and I think for my benefit, when an RFA like this is drawn up, I was very confused about the trade-in. I assumed it was the Glocks that were being traded in. It never specified that these were, unless I'm missing it in the reading.
No, sir. And read it this morning. I did not do a very good job getting that information across on the RFA. It made sense to me, but looking backwards,
you
I see
gotta
it doesn't make
understand
sense
what you're
to
working with
you.
here.
Yeah. So I will take the responsibility on that, Commissioner.
Okay, and the Glocks, the 8-year-old Glocks, I mean, they have a lot of life left in them. There's no way you could.
That's correct.
And could they be adapted to the SROs?
No, and that's a fair question. So they cannot. They can, but they can't. So if we wanted to put the SROs on our currently issued weapons, we would have to buy adapter plates, and we would have to MacGyver, for a lack of better terms, of getting these SROs to fit the current slides of the guns on the slides on our current guns. The Glocks we're wanting to purchase are the Model 47s. Those slides are milled out to accept the SROs.
Okay.
So we can put the SROs directly on a gun without having to stack adapter plates on them.
Well, the information you brought forth outside of this was very enlightening. I was ready to table this, but now I see no reason not to go ahead with it.
Any other questions? Okay, any comment from the public? Okay, if not, I'll bring it back to Commission for action, please.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve RFA 2024-166 as presented.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to approve RFA 2024-166. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That passes 5-0. Okay, moves us on to our next one.
End-of-year financial resolutions with Philip Smith Haynes, County Administrator.
Good morning, Commissioners. So there are two resolutions that we adopt each year by the end of the year in order to facilitate our financial reporting. One of those is authorization to move funds at the time of audit to our capital and equipment reserve funds. And the other is to report our financial statements on the basis of what is called KMAG, the Kansas Municipal Accounting Guide, rather than generally accepted accounting principles. Most agencies in Kansas do that. For convenience, both of those resolutions need to be adopted before December 31st each year. For convenience, we've also packaged a third resolution, which is to cancel warrants that are in excess of 2 years old. These are essentially checks that have never been cashed for whatever reason. We've tried to go back and find people, have not been successful, and they're stale dated. So those are the three items in front of you this morning, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I have a question here on the resolution of 24-2417, treasurer to transfer leftover funds from operating to reserve funds. Is this all the departments or just the general fund?
There are a number of funds specified within. So it's the general fund, it's road and bridge, it's health fund, all of those.
All of that is,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Any public comment? Okay, I'll bring it back to Commissioner for action, please.
Mr. Chairman, I move we adopt Resolution 24-2416, 17, and 18 as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to adopt Resolution 24-2416, 17, and 18 is presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That passes 5-0. Okay, that will move us into our informational items.
Community Legislative Platform for 2025.
So for a number of years, the Salina Area Chamber of Commerce has facilitated a conversation between local area anchor institutions and our legislative delegation about issues of interest to the community. This year is, I believe, the third year that we have done a formal platform. That's been really helpful the last couple of years. As you know, we've engaged the Chamber has engaged the services of Folston Siefken to do lobbying in Topeka on behalf of the community. The county is a financial participant in that. This year's platform, there aren't really a lot of county-specific issues that we have brought forward. We do continue to be concerned about the issue of potential government competition legislation in Topeka, and Eric Sexton with Folston Siefken did some tweaking of the language for that particular piece, but most of the big sort of headline asks are from other community partners, the universities, the hospital, the city of Salina. But Renee Dexler from the Chamber is here. And Renee, I didn't know if you had any comments you wanted to add, but we could certainly answer questions if the commissioners have any.
Just happy to be here. Thank you, commissioners. Happy to be here this morning. I'm really just here to answer any questions that you might have about this year's legislative agenda.
So does this go to our legislatures in print? Do we talk to them?
We talk to them. So we
Okay.
actually hold what we call the legislative roundtable every year. So after it passes through boards, we will sit down with our legislators. That's our federal. You'll see there's federal and state policy and requests in here. So our federal representatives as well as our state legislators, and go through this with them, answer any questions they might have, and then they take this with them. We also do the state house visit every
Right.
Year as well, in around February or March, and we take this with us to also talk with other representatives at the
So
state
this
level.
is federal also?
This is federal also. Yep.
Okay, all right.
Yep. So there's one federal request. The River Project continues to be
Right.
eligible for federal funding, and then there's some Farm Bill reauthorization, those sorts of things within the federal policy requests. A bulk of this is at the state level.
Okay.
Yep.
And has the hospital already asked or said what they're interested in by any chance?
Yeah. So the hospitals asked. We've got under our policy request, but it's for mental health beds.
Okay.
They're looking at mental health beds, and that's really in correlation with their mental health beds, and then also sort of advocating on behalf of Central Kansas Mental Health Center for mental health beds.
And so in the past, what have we asked for? I mean, what was our request last year? I can't even remember. Was there anything
It's-
specific?
No, it's pretty similar. We did have, again, language on the government competition bill
Right.
in there. A couple of years ago, we worked closely with the city on Magnolia and Holmes. So we had some extensive information about Holmes Road in there. But that has sort of morphed through the process, so not dead, but also not a specific ask for this year.
There is a request in here that's not a specific ask. It's a policy request regarding the co-responder program, and just saying to the state, this has been really successful, if there is eligibility for state funding to help sustain that program. So it's a policy and not a direct number request, but we do have that in here.
Thank you.
Renee, when we talk to the legislators, I mean, are they pretty responsive to what, we ask? I mean, we hear so many stories. We just got back from the conference, and, they said, well, it goes in one ear and out the other, and, they're not really, seem like sometimes they're concerned about what, us little people really want. I mean, are they pretty responsive to this stuff once we sit down with them?
I would say so. I've been very impressed with our local state representative, Senator Clay, certainly, as well as Hal Sanders and Concannon came in last year. We'll be moving forward with Don Wolf for the 107th, but so far very responsive, have access to them. We do go up to the State House, and see all of them when we're there. So I feel like from a community level, and we get this feedback from the other representatives at the state and federal level, that they're so impressed with how Salina collaborates and the collaboration we do, and the way that our representatives know exactly what's going on in the community, because we do kind of provide this for them. So to answer that shortly, yes, I do think they're very responsive.
Well, I speak for myself, but thank you guys for all you do and getting this put out there and everything. So.
Okay.
So is the platform more big picture things, or are there specifics like our concern with the tag office?
Yeah.
Is that something we just do on our own? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so a lot of, and we do try to, kind of see it through this filter of what is something that just really is going to overall, and it's of course from the chamber perspective, influence economic development, business development, workforce, those sorts of things.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Understood.
My question regards the Kansas Wesleyan funding. Does this request come from Kansas Wesleyan? Does it come from the city? Does it come from the chamber? Where does this originate from?
So for Claflin Road, is that what you're referring to, the Claflin Road request?
Well, I'm just talking about the KW entrance and Claflin Road upgrades and state funding request.
Yeah, so that is something that is a collaboration. The city has started working with them to talk about what that could look like. So that is sort of coming, all that language definitely came from the city. And so they are starting that process of having that conversation. Now, this has not been put in front of the city commission yet. The city has not made any movements forward with that, but that's sort of where that's originated.
From the city.
KW has gone to the city and said, this is something we'd like to look into doing. And I think city staff has started the process of looking at what that looks like, and then has said, let's see if there's some state funding that would be eligible.
That will keep me from further stepping on my tongue, I think.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners' comments?
I just got one real quick one here. Attended the KAC this last week. It was a very, very informative and a lot of stuff going on, and I want to thank the other commissioners and the staff who attended, and hope they got as much out of it as I did.
Announcements?
I just have one thing to bring up. Not really an announcement, more of a question to the commissioners. So we always list the agenda items for next week on your agenda. There is one item that's not on there, was referenced by a public speaker earlier today, which is the battery energy storage systems regulations. The Planning Commission at their November meeting did approve something and forward it to the commission. So the question becomes one of timing for you all to take that up. We were hoping to have it on for next Tuesday, the 17th. Tim was at KAC along with other folks, and so he has not had time to work on this yet. In looking at the calendar, the 24th, we will not be meeting because of Christmas Eve. We could do it on New Year's Eve. That seems like not an ideal period for public engagement. And then we will not have a full board here on January 7th or January 14th. And then January 21st, you have other items. January 28th is a study session. So basically, the choice is hurry up and do it next Tuesday or wait till February. And so I just wanted to get a sense from the commission about whether you would like us to try and get this on for next week or whether you're okay waiting until February to take this up.
Who is asking for this to happen quickly? Just the planning department, or, I mean, is there any need?
I don't think there's a need for it to happen quickly. You know, the Planning Commission's been very deliberative in their process. They've taken 3 meetings, 4, 6 meetings to do this. I mean, they've spent considerable time, and so I don't think it's anything that needs to, be done soon. It's just, normally, if this were any other time of year, it would be 1 week delay, and now it's a sort of a month and a half delay. So,
February the 4th, we have that work session and then a regular meeting. I think it would work really well, during that time. It gives time to digest I would like to see that proposal way before then, but.
Right, and there's certainly more time for the public to have a look at it if we wait, and as well as for the commission. So just.
I'm all in favor of going till February. I mean, I'd really like to look at it and evaluate it a little bit before we actually do any voting.
Okay, well, we'll plan on that then. Thank you for that.
Okay. Discussion of naming rights at Expo Center.
So, a couple meetings back, the issue was brought up, I believe, by Commissioner Vidrickson regarding what have we done to try and encourage donations at the Expo, and in particular, the folks across the street, formerly the Bicentennial Center, right, have sold off naming rights and become Tony's Pizza Event Center and the Great Plains Heritage Hall and those sorts of things. So, had a conversation with the city. They're fine. Had a conversation with David Flaherty, and we just sort of put some ideas down on paper. Melissa McCoy helped with getting sort of a draft brochure. And so I just am bringing that back to you all. Is this what you had in mind? If we refine this a little bit, flesh it out, pass it out to you all so you can, distribute it to your contacts, start marketing it. Is this what you were thinking? Are these dollar amounts the dollar amounts that you think would be okay to rename the whole complex, rename specific buildings? Do you like the time frames? Please provide me feedback on what you have seen.
Well, Ben's, it's been kind of my thing that I've been pursuing this for quite some time. The only thing that I would question a little bit, and that is the level of investment that we're asking for. I would like for us to start right at the top with the naming rights for the entire organization, and have that be something of a negotiable number. I mean, obviously, there's only going to be, a handful of people in this community, I think, that would be interested in being a full-bore naming rights owner for that 10 years. And have a one-on-one meeting with each one of those and see what they might, if they're even interested, number one. Number two, what do they think is a fair amount, and then go from there, as opposed to saying it's $1 million, take it or leave it. That's my thought. would like for it to be a negotiable number. I'd love to get $1 million. I don't know that we can, but I would like for us to have an open mind with it and think that, you know, if someone were to offer whatever the number is, I'm not going to lay it all out there, but whatever that number is, then let them offer it. Look at the best number that we can get and come back to the commission and say, let's do it or let's not do it. Maybe I'm chasing our tail here. I don't know, but that's my only thought on it. I like the overall scheme of it, though.
Phil, how did we check with how did the city do their naming rights when they did the Tony's Pizza Event Center? You know, I know they got $1 million for 10 years, and then you had the Great Plains Arena or whatever, and they got so much money from that. I think JRI, I don't know if JRI is invested in that or not, but how did they come about saying, okay, you know, we're going to ask for $1 million for being named for the center?
Yeah, I had a conversation with the city manager, and it was kind of like what Commissioner Vidrickson describes. It was kind of a negotiation process for Tony's Pizza Event Center as the marquee. But then what they did is they have a management company that runs the center. On the city staff doesn't do it, right? And so that management company has set the levels for the other thing, like the Heritage Hall renaming. That was a number that was set by that management company, not by the city. So that's where it's a little different for us. But levels are very in line with the levels that we've presented in this draft. So
like Commissioner Vidrickson said, we could take like you could have the naming of the whole center under the Saline County part there, and then have each of the buildings named after that.
Right. That's the concept. You could have the Tony's Pizza Livestock and Expo Center, and then have the Great Plains Ag Hall as part of that. It's sort of like if you, professional sports stadium, it's GEHA Field at Arrowhead, right? So
Well, there's only upside to this. I mean, I like it.
Yeah.
I'm glad it was brought up by the commissioner. Let's just say we did get money. Does that go into the general fund? Does that go in the Expo fund? Or is that our decision? Or am I getting too far ahead?
No, I think that's a great question, Commissioner, because it is, of course, your decision ultimately. I would say that, if I were the one writing the check, right, I would not want it to go into the county's general fund. I think that's probably, a donor would probably not think that was a great investment. Yeah. So my first blush thought is that funds received would be funds donated would be receipted into the Expo CIP, so that it would stay specific to that facility.
Good.
We could tweak that, depending on the level, or if there were specific, if somebody really wanted it to go to, say, redoing the kitchen, for example, in the 4-H building, then we might have to move the money around a little bit to make that happen.
Right. This is exciting. But going forward, who sells that? Who sits down in front of that business person and sells that? Is that us? Is that you? Have we thought about that?
So it's probably not me. Not that I'm not willing to be part of those meetings, but I just, not a great salesperson. David has had some initial conversations with donors. This is, I think, a little bit grander than what he's been focused on. Could I get you to donate cattle pens? Could I get you to donate a skid steer? Could I get you to? So this is another level. But he has certainly opened some of those doors. I think it would be helpful to have commissioner involvement and to have, maybe we could even get some assistance from like the Greater Saline Community Foundation or, other folks who sort of play in this market a little bit more than we have traditionally. But I think definitely you all have contacts that I think would be helpful to the process, whether you're the ones responsible for it or not.
Well, I'm not a marketing genius, obviously, but if I were to be involved in it, which I won't be, I'll be off the commission by then, but I would
I think community volunteers could still be involved.
I've been volunteering now for a while. My thought would be to, obviously, the number one thing I would think would be Kubota. They're tied to the agricultural world. Schwann's, Tony's Pizza has already got the big one over there. Then they still maybe want to have it all overall. I don't know, but I would contact a half a dozen or so of those that we identify as the people who would be willing to go for the big one, and sit down and have a conversation one-on-one with them individually, and maybe they'd turn it down right off the bat. I don't know, but I think that's how I would start it if I were doing it.
Guys, any more input?
I had the same thoughts process as Commissioner Vidrickson, and it's about, would we negotiate these prices and all of that? So this all been already taken care of my questions. So thank you. I think this is a great way to get started with this whole process. Yep.
And I have no problem with the pricing and setting that. And there again, it does become something that this is what we think value is, but you can go into a negotiation, or maybe the size of the package, whether they want it all, whether they want bits and pieces, and it would get rather complicated. I think it would take a good marketing team to put something this. There's a lot of different elements here.
Right.
Put all this together, but I appreciate you getting this back to us in a couple weeks' time. It gets that thought process going and the ball rolling. That's important.
You bet.
I wish it would have happened earlier in Commissioner Vidrickson's term, but we can follow up on it.
Well, I guess you could always hire a marketing manager if you wanted.
Yep.
No, that's supposed to be a joke. Don't think I'm available.
All right. Okay.
Discussion of ending resolutions for appointments to boards and committees.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning. Good morning.
So this particular piece of discussion kind of came about just through some thoughts and ideas. So a couple of weeks ago, we had a resolution that was put on your consent agenda for some board appointments for the health department. While there was nothing wrong with that, traditionally resolutions really should be action items on your agenda. And that's how we've done it, particularly in the past. So the timing's really good for this discussion is towards the end of the year, we typically have a slew of board reappointments or appointments. I know I've actually got at least 3 departments that have reappointments coming up for the January timeframe. So the discussion that I wanted to have with you today is how, moving forward, we do that process. Had a conversation with County Councilor Mike Montoya as do we need to have resolutions for board appointments or reappointments? And the simple answer is no. There's nothing in statute that says a resolution is required to make those appointments. We could simply do just letters of appointment, and those could be items that could be put on your consent agenda. So I wanted to see if the commission was comfortable with moving forward with that type of process, or if there's some other type of process that you'd like to continue with if you're wanting to continue with doing resolutions. If that's the case, then they would be resolutions as action items on your agenda.
So these are names that we would be able to see. I mean, this is not just something that happens and then we don't know who's on the boards. I mean, it'd be on a letter.
Absolutely, yes. It would be on a letter, on county letterhead, signed by the commission chair, appointing particular individuals to certain boards.
Because I do like to see who's on there. From my experience, we've never turned down anybody in a resolution, so you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, right.
So the city, if I remember right, they do resolutions for their board appointments.
I believe so.
Well, so a resolution is not a resolution. A county resolution, counties do not have ordinances. A county resolution has the force of law. A city resolution is more like a proclamation.
Okay.
So when you say resolution, you're talking about something completely different for the city than you are for the county.
Okay. Thank you for.
It makes sense to me. I mean, I don't see a downside to it, really. I mean, we're still seeing the names and we're, appreciative of everybody doing things, and it's just, yeah.
So we just leave it on the consent agenda.
Yeah, so what we would do is we would move away from the names being on like a resolution form and just format it so it's more of an appointment letter that would still go on the county commission consent agenda. Moving forward.
I'm good with that.
Okay.
Makes sense.
That'll work.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second?
Motion second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That passes 5-0. Thank you.